welcome to the Future Jam. I'm back from hiatus, and I wanted to bring you some shorter episodes while you're waiting for the larger ones to start coming again. And that's in the pipeline, but right now I'm going to start releasing what I want to call mini jams. So these are going to be shorter episodes, probably about 5 to 10 minutes long, and they're just going to be about topics that have piqued my interest as of late. So on this first mini jam, I wanted to cover something that got me really excited that I saw recently on the news. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but Google just recently dropped a huge announcement, and on stage in front of a huge crowd, Google dropped the bomb that they're getting into the video game industry, but not in a way that you would ever think they would. Google, since they are a huge internet company, they are going to use that internet backbone that they have, and they're going to deliver gaming to us like we've never seen it before. And I really think this is a turning point in the history of gaming. This is a huge, huge turning point, because in the past, whenever you thought of streaming and gaming together, you thought, wow, that's probably going to suck. It's probably going to be slow, laggy, and not fun. It's going to take you out of the game. And this has been a thing for a while now. Game streaming is not a new concept. I remember back in 2006, I had a PlayStation Portable, and I could log into my PlayStation 3 and play games remotely. Now, that was cool, and that blew my mind back in 2006. And again, Sony did it again with the PlayStation Vita, another handheld console. You could play video games wirelessly with the PlayStation 4, and so on and so forth. But the problem everybody always had with it was, again, the lag and the experience. And another company that really launched back in 2009 was a company called OnLive. And OnLive also sold like a streaming box that you could connect to your TV, had controllers up to 4, and you could stream your games directly from the internet. You wouldn't have to have a physical disc or physical media at all. And that was really neat. And at the time, everybody was like, how will this work? Is this the changing point in games? The system came out. OnLive came out to little to no fanfare. A lot of people trashed it because, again, it was slow, laggy, and it wasn't great. PlayStation tried again later with their game streaming service called PlayStation Now, which was akin to Netflix for video games, and you could stream PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1 games. And again, for most games, it was laggy and not worth it. Not worth the cost. So let's fast forward, because all those are in the past. Let's fast forward to Google. Google steps in and says, hey, we're going to change the game, and we're going to change it big time. Google opened up the doors to basically what I've always dreamed my entire life. To be able to play video games on any screen, anywhere. To not worry about the hardware, to worry about the game. So Google announced that you can play games off of any web browser, off of basically any device that can have a web browser, and off your TV using like one of the Google Chromecast devices. At first blush, this doesn't seem very revolutionary. Like, hey, we've been streaming since 2006. We've been able to do this since 2006, but it's never been done well, and it's never been executed well. And we know once it's executed correctly, it's going to be a game changer. And that's why I wanted to talk about it on this mini episode, because nobody thought that Netflix would take over physical media when it came out. People laughed at it. People scoffed. Netflix was seen as a small fish in a big pond. Like, cable television did not pay any heed to it at all. People just ignored them as Netflix grew and grew and grew before they're too big to compete with anymore. The cable companies are were sitting on their laurels. They didn't adjust their services to match what the customers wanted, and Netflix stepped in and took money right out of their pockets. And I think that's going to happen again with gaming, because people keep writing streaming gaming off and saying it's going to be too slow, it's not going to work. And I really do think that Google, if anybody can do this, I know Microsoft is bringing their xCloud, and Sony's probably going to have to upgrade their service to make it more competitive. But I really think what Google presented, and I'll put a link in the show notes of their presentation because I think it's mind-blowing what you can do with it, changes the whole game. And it might be one of those slow things where it slowly gets better and better and better. And before you know it, it is the end-all be-all. And PlayStation and Nintendo are like scratching their heads like, where did this come from? Like, we were left behind. We can't compete anymore. Because you don't have to, it lowers the barrier of entry by a lot. You don't have to buy a $399 console to play high-end games. You don't have to buy a gaming PC that costs $1,000 to play good games. As long as you have a decent internet connection, you'll be able to play games at high definition, high frame rate with no problem. That's what they're billing it as. So I understand. I understand people are saying, well, our internet's infrastructure is just not there. It's not going to be able to handle game streaming at all. And what I would like to say is, hey, 5G is right around the corner. Infrastructure is getting better throughout the whole country. And if streaming technology gets better, look at Netflix. You can watch high definition Netflix at almost any house now. You can play video games online against other people from your console. Sure, it's not streaming, but you're still playing on the internet and there's little to no lag. So it's not too crazy to think that you can just stream the entire game off of a cloud computer. And that right there is what is mind-blowing about the whole thing, is because you don't have to worry about constantly upgrading your system. The game is completely running off the cloud on a computer in a warehouse somewhere. And the thing is it's gonna benefit so many different people. It's gonna benefit the user because you don't have to constantly upgrade. You can keep playing games at the highest quality possible. It's gonna benefit the developer because they won't be limited by a console hardware. They will have unlimited potential because they can basically use the computing power of the cloud to constantly make their games better and make their games more intensive. And it's going to make sharing things a lot easier and simpler and quicker. You're not going to have to worry about installing games or downloading games. It's going to all run immediately. In the demo they showed, you just click on a link and it opens within 5 seconds and you're playing. You're playing a high-end game that you would normally have to download to a system that 50 gigs. It's crazy. So it's just gonna allow so many new things to happen, and this technology is just the start. Think about this, like never having to upgrade your computer because your computer runs in the cloud. You don't have to buy new computers all the time because your computer is in the cloud. You don't have to worry about your computer becoming outdated because it's in the cloud. This has so many different use cases. But gaming is at the forefront because gaming is such a games are such a huge industry, bigger than Hollywood, bigger than the cable companies. Gaming is huge. It's one of the largest entertainment industries, and if they can get this right, it's going to change the game forever. I likened this Google announcement from the stage to the first time Apple released the iPhone. People didn't quite know what they were looking at, but they knew that it was something new and fresh and possibly game-changing. And the iPhone ended up being one of the biggest turning points in computation, like personal computing, since the laptop, since desktop computing, all of that. So I think this is just the next iteration. This is where we're going next. And The only thing that's limiting us is the internet speeds we currently have. Well, that's it for today. I just wanted to get that out there. I'm just really excited about the gaming future, and I wanted to, give you a little snippet of like what the mini jams would be like. So these are going to be smaller episodes, and I'm going to try to get them out every week. Shooting for Thursday. If you want me to cover any smaller topics, feel free to shoot me a topic idea at the Future Jam on Twitter, or you can email me thefuturejam@gmail.com. Have a great one.